Oh, poor Totaro, you have no idea what I'm trying to do here. Hey everyone, this is Prince Brightstar, and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. So, last time we had a very successful raid with the new Yorha content, and now today we are finally going to be tackling the main scenario quest. Let us speak to Totaro and get this going. Prince, gods, it's good to see you. I hope your being here means you've had your fill of rest? More than my fill. Well, you've certainly earned it. Not much has happened since your last visit. I had planned for you to meet that helper I told you about, but he refuses to answer his link pearl. I do hope he's alright. We've been exchanging messages with the Eorzean Alliance throughout, though. They say the fighting has finally stopped at the Gimlet Dark, and that the Empire's shown no sign of movement. Which means we might actually have a moment to ourselves for a change. Seeing as you're back, maybe you could tell me more about your time in the First? Great. Oh, and if you don't mind, I'd like to ask Philomene to join us. She'll want to know what happened to Minfilia, and I think it's best she hears it from you. We'll meet you on the terrace at the House of Splendors. Okay, so that is going to take us out of here, out of the Rising Stones, and back into Revenant's Toll itself. And here we are at the terrace, and here is where we need to be. Prince, my, it has been too long. Totaro did mention that I would be joining you, did she not? Thank you. Words cannot well express how I have longed to know more of the First. This world Minfilia has sacrificed so much to save. But come, rest your feet. Totaro should be arriving shortly. And so Minfilia chose to pass on her gifts to the next Oracle. This girl who Thancred named Rean? Have such a burden thrust upon her as a child, only to embrace it when given the choice. In that respect, they are quite alike. It would seem her legacy is indeed in capable hands. Prince, might I ask a favor of you when you next return to the First? To tell Rean what I cannot? Tell her, thank you. And I would offer thanks to you as well, for staying with her to the end. Begging your pardon, could I have a word? Real? I hope you're here to tell me you've received word from our helper. I wish. Nay, I've not had a peep out of him, and it's been a good long while now. Too bloody long. On account of which, I'm going to sneak over the border and see if I can't get a signal to him from closer up. But what if they catch you? There must be another way. Well, it ain't as if we can ask Thancred to do it. Besides, I shouldn't have no trouble picking me way through the Gimlet now that the fighting's died down. Gods know there's enough shadows to hide in. And it beats waiting round here twiddling me thumbs. Anyway, I just thought I'd let you know. Now, I'd best be... Ack, I nearly forgot. Kryle's at the Stones, and she wants a word. Something to do with the patients. She was getting ready to examine him again when I left. We'd best head back then. I'm sure it's important. Alright, back to the Rising Stones we go then. It seems she's still examining them. Oh, I do hope it's nothing bad.
You're here. Good.
So, how are they?
Still locked in slumber, but otherwise in good physical health. For the present, at least.
For the present? Oh no, is something wrong with them?
I'm afraid there may be. I summoned you after detecting faint signs of instability in Thancred's corporeal ether. But subsequent examination suggested all 5 might be affected. And when I examined them just now, my fears were confirmed. Tellingly, the degree of instability varies between them. Thancred exhibits the most notable signs, followed by Y'shtola and Urianger. The twins' ether, meanwhile, remains relatively stable, but there is a change there too if one knows to look for it.
Hold on. Isn't that the order they were called away in?
Indeed. Which leads me to believe the instability will only increase with time. Though I can but speculate, I fear this may be a symptom of a weakening link between body and soul.
Not to mention the weird time scale that's going on between the two worlds.
By the gods! What happens if the link is broken?
I cannot say for certain. This is all unknown territory to us. Yet whatever happens, it cannot be good. Mercifully, the instability is still only slight. And you may rest assured Master Matoya and I will do everything in our power to keep it from worsening. Be that as it may, it is imperative that you find a way to restore our friends' souls to their bodies.
No rest for the righteous, eh?
I realize you've only just returned from saving 2 worlds, but time is not on our side.
But where's he even supposed to start? We had the greatest minds in the realm hunting high and low for an answer, and they ran out of places to look.
Then we have to go to the source of the one who summoned them in the first place.
You stated in your report that the Exarch had originally intended to reverse the summoning process by means of his own death, correct?
Yep.
Raha always was a reckless young fool, ready to die for the first righteous cause that came along.
Raha? So you knew him?
His plan might well have worked, but I for one am glad he never had the opportunity to see it through. Even if it does mean our friends must remain stranded a while longer. There is another way, I am sure of it. And the key lies with him, with the Exarch. Pray return to the First and apprise him and the others of the situation. We, meanwhile, will do what we can from here. And, if the fates are kind, we will have good news to share upon your return.
Pray return to the First. You're starting to sound like Minfilia there, Kryle. Anyway, let's make our way over to the Crystarium on the First. Apparently, I still know where all the teleports are around here, where they all lead to. Let me try that again. If it's not the Docile Gate, I'll just walk. There we go. Ah, Prince, you are returned. I hope your time in the Source was suitably restful. But of course it wasn't. Go on. Their corporeal aether shows signs of instability? By the gods, the possibility never even occurred to me. If you have returned in the hope that my research has yielded a solution, I fear you will be sorely disappointed. 'Tis but a mercy we have the likes of Mistress Kryal and Master Matoya to keep our friends' bodies safe while we wrestle with the problem. But they cannot forestall the separation of body and soul indefinitely. Come, the others must be told.
Pray excuse my late arrival.
Will Thancred and Reen not be joining us?
Nay, milady. With apologies to all, they beg leave to pursue their investigation of the empty to its conclusion. Should matters here demand their presence, however, they did assure me that they would make themselves available.
Yes, of course. Then let us proceed. I think it best that you begin by providing a summary of Mistress Kryal's findings.
Yeah, we gotta do something to fix this, or else you're all gonna die.
I suppose it was only to be expected that some change would occur.
Yet our souls seem unaffected, to my eye at least. How long they will remain so is another question. Kryal is right. It is imperative we find a way to return to the source.
Perhaps an explanation of the method by which I brought you here will yield some inspiration. Ere I begin, it must be noted that I am by no means a gifted mage. In order to employ powerful magics, I must rely upon the Crystal Tower and its boundless reservoirs of energy. The magic that summoned you was no exception. 'Tis a singular spell, adapted through painstaking effort from the technique that transported me to the first. To use an analogy, it works by cutting a hole in the fabric of reality. A hole tailored to the object of summoning, through which it and it alone may pass unscathed. Though I succeeded in creating said hole, I failed to latch onto my intended target. Instead of you, the spell found those close to you, and ended up summoning them in their incomplete state. I would not soon throw my life away, not after the lengths you and yours went to save it. And so long as I breathe, I will spare no effort to see you safely home.
Why are you looking at me saying that?
But should all else fail, and your lives be at stake, there remains one sure method.
We have to take you out.
Oh. What was that for?
How can you even entertain such thoughts? You owe your life to the Warrior of Light, and you don't get to die unless he says so.
Your followers await your divine judgment.
What did you just...
If the two of you have finished, perhaps we could return to our discussion? Rather than dwelling upon the multiple failed attempts at transference, I think it would behoove us to focus on the solitary success. I would draw your attention to the fact that our friend can travel between worlds possessed not only of his body and soul, but his personal effects besides. This is no different from the teleportation magics to which we are all accustomed. Magics that allow for the transportation of those inanimate objects one considers to be an extension of oneself.
Are you suggesting that simply by considering us his possessions, he could carry our souls back to the source upon his person?
Well, it would be nice if things were that simple for a change. But vague notions of ownership seem a rather tenuous thing to stake our lives on. So much as a moment of doubt on his part, and we'd be left floating in the rift.
Milady hath the right of it. The requisite fixity of belief would be too much to ask even of our friend.
Yeah, and if I lose you, don't expect me to be able to catch you. I wasn't able to hang on to Haurchefant.
Yet, were we to immure our souls within an object in his possession, mayhap then our safe passage could be assured. White auracite would, I believe, serve as a suitable vessel for this purpose. It was conceived to imprison the massy soul of an Ascian, and should house one of ours with relative ease. We would need only to ensure our soul's safe preservation inside the stone, and identify a means by which they might be transferred back unto our vacant bodies.
Soul preservation and transference. I believe I know of someone who may be able to assist us. On the far shore of the source, there stands a great palace built by the elves. It was forsaken in the wake of the flood, but a certain Numo chose to make their home there soon after. Though they have long lived as a recluse, they once occupied a place of honor in Verbert's royal court, and it is said that none in all of Norvrant is more knowledgeable than they on matters of the soul.
Well, I've no objection to seeking a helping hand, but if they've gone to such lengths to hide themselves away from the world, what makes you think they'd be willing to lend us one?
A worthy question. Years ago, I myself tried and failed to solicit their cooperation in the battle against the Sin Eaters. No sooner had I begun to make my plea than they unleashed a swarm of their familiars upon me. Unlike me, however, you have curried favor with the Fae folk. By that merit alone, I am hopeful that they would grant you an audience. They may still be inclined to turn you away, of course, but if their knowledge might feasibly facilitate your return home, we have to try.
Let's do it. Alright, let's see what we got here this time. Cordon Bleu, let's do it. Alright, with that, let's speak to the Exarchs again. The Grand Cosmos, that is the place we seek. Stands on the opposite shore of the source. I will arrange for a boat to carry us there. It's such a weird name to give it, the source. That the world that they all came from was the source, and yet there's also a place on this world called the source. I don't know if that was intentional by Yoshi P or some of the other designers on the team, but it's confusing, that's for certain. Whilst thou journeyest thither, I think it best that I devote mine energies to the creation of white ore site. By thy leave, of course. The process requireth no small amount of time, and should the Numo consent to lend us their aid, we will have need of a suitable vessel ere long. Agreed. Then I would ask the rest of you to meet me in Sullen, and do be prepared for a warm reception. Alright, so if we are headed to Sullen, we need to head to Fort Job first, and then make our way to the southwest. Come to think of it, we just made this same trip last night as well. And that is something that we'll be getting back to once the main scenario quest is complete. I don't know if we're going to be able to finish this tonight or not. If not, then we will look to finish that up later this week. Along with the Beast Tribe quest. Here we are. As I told you before, I had scarcely set foot on the palace grounds when I was set upon by our host's familiars, and I expect our reception today to be no different, which is why I propose we march through the main gate, weapons drawn. I'm sorry, but are we not here to petition for assistance? You can't honestly think barging in looking for a fight is going to persuade them. Actually, I believe the Exarch may have the right of it. They have no doubt poured a great deal of time and energy into their creations. Were I them, I should be most interested to meet with those who could overcome my defenses. As would any true seeker of knowledge, and there is little we can say or do to convince them to help us if we know nothing of their character, nor less why they chose to hide themselves from the world. But if we can seize their interest, mayhap we can earn ourselves an audience. Weapons drawn it is, then. Though I must say, Exarch, you certainly seem to be enjoying all this. Do I? Well, I will not deny that I enjoy the thought of fighting alongside you all, rather than pacing about inside the Crystal Tower. You both seem to be in rather high spirits, if you ask me. Not that I'm surprised. Your moods invariably improve when Prince is around. What exactly are you implying? He averted a calamity, and the light which seemed destined to consume him has been extinguished. 'Tis only natural that we be pleased to see him. Yes, well, you'll have plenty of time to celebrate his good health after we've finished here. Of course. Then let us proceed to the palace. And with that, the Grand Cosmos is now accessible. And with that, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be bringing along the characters here. So let's form a party and enter the Grand Cosmos. In this particular case, Alphino, I'm sorry, you just seem to leave me a little too low sometimes. So, off you go.
Very well.
Exart, come along. Quite the whimsical theme going on here. Alrighty, so let's get going here.
To leave a mark.
Good first pull. Let's keep going.
Underestimate me!
And on we go. Magic brooms! Wait a moment. Okay, they are talking backwards speak there. Okay. For a moment, I thought they weren't. Ah, living weapons! Last one up. Let's take him out. And moving on. And this looks like the first boss here. Oh, these brooms are gonna come across.
With you. If I must.
Alright, those have a little bit larger of a range than I thought. definitely not based on the animation.
You underestimate me. Let's give them a show.
They'll be down shortly.
Let's hold back.
If I must. The time has come.
And there we go, first boss down.
If I must.
This whole place looks pretty nice, actually. Alright, let's see what we got in this treasure coffer here. Warg Bracelet of Aiming. Okay. Those look like bombs. Except they seem to be plant-based.
You underestimate me.
Yep, that's what I thought. Interesting. I think this is the first time we've seen any kind of pitcher plant in this game. Almost missed this.
Away with you!
And on to the next boss. Let's do it. Storm of Color. That's a tank buster.
I will not hold back!
So by keeping the seeds off of there, it prevents them from growing. Nice. I'm gonna pull her back over to here just so that if she does that again, she needs to run back to the center of the field, and that will buy the team more time to do some more damage.
I will not hold back!
It basically becomes a case of stand still and kite, essentially, in those cases.
I'm with you.
Alright, let's grab this one. Drop it right here. Not sure what you're thinking there, you stole it, but okay. They'll be down in just a moment here. And there we go. Second boss is down. Let's move on to the last area. That's it for the entrance of this room? Just a single target? Okay. Not that I'm complaining. Alright, I'm curious. What are you gonna do? Nothing. Okay. Can't even jump in the flowers. Oh well. Alright, let's see what we got in this treasure coffer. Heaven's Eye materia. Okay. Chamber of Raised Cups. Okay, guess we're not being attacked by that then. Oh, now that... That looked like Horsefant in that painting. But that could have just simply been the first Horsefant.
I will not hold back.
Still, I'm curious about why it's Sir. I mean, I thought Sir was just how things were up on the source. Sir shouldn't have anything to do with the Holy See here. Can't say I recognize the face. There's some more materia. Ah, now we're probably gonna get attacked here. Or could that could just be the entrance to the third boss. You have sullied these halls long enough. Come, Lucas, our guests yet want for company. Alright, let's do it. I don't like this stool and piano here. Can't really do anything with them right now, though. That looks like a tank buster. Yep. Ah, got it. So we have to put the flames out by touching some sort of furniture. Interesting idea, that's for certain.
This is going to leave a mark. fucking crater!
Let's say he caught you looking.
On guard!
The time has come.
Just about down. And down they go. Alright, let's see what everybody has to say. Alright, let us head for the exit here.
That was my fiercest familiar. Oh, impressive.
And he did say he was a new Mo.
Backlogue, 'tis good to see you again after all these years. And judging by your vigorous greeting, I dare say the feeling is mutual. To be sure, a simple shake of the hand would have sufficed by way of welcome, but I shan't complain. But you must be wondering as to the purpose of our visit. We come to beg your assistance in a most urgent matter.
Shake? Beg?
Our comrades' very souls are in danger. If we are to save them, we will need the benefit of your unsurpassed knowledge on the matter. Please, will you not sit and hear our plea?
If I could, I would slap him on the back of the head right now. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh, how dare you! How dare you speak thus in my presence! It was to escape such words of temptation that I hid myself from the world of men. You are sinners, one and all, and I swore never again to have any part in your affairs.
I can only imagine what terrible events forced you into a life of seclusion. But I know that the Numo are a good and noble folk. It is not in your nature to turn a blind eye to the plight of those around you. And in treating with us, I am certain whatever mistrust you feel for man will begin to heal.
You too, huh, Alpha No? I mean, I kinda get it, but at the same time, it's... I don't know. It just seems... I don't know, almost racist in a way.
if you will not be satisfied, I suppose I could listen. After all, there's no harm in just... No, I mustn't. Not again. That damn court mage seemed to have the best of intentions too, and countless innocents died for my naivety. Oh, you know not what you ask of me. What horrors my knowledge has wrought.
You mean the magical plague of Vobert?
You know of the plague? Then you know how dangerous soulcraft can be. Instead of saving your friends, you risk damning them. Are you sure you're willing to take that chance?
If we don't do anything, they're in trouble regardless.
No. No.
Oh, very well. I will hear your petition, but that is all. And I expect fitting payment for my troubles.
Commensurate with your contribution to our cause. No more and no less, I promise you. With that settled, might I impose upon you to join us at the Crystarium? I'm afraid the nature of my friend's predicament calls for absolute secrecy.
Alright, let's hand in the quest. There you are. The others have gone ahead to the Crystal Tower with Big Lug. For the record, I truly wish we hadn't had to resort to using such words when treating with them. I have ever sought to convince, not compel, yet I cannot deny that a part of me is glad Orianger shared his knowledge of the new Mo with us. Had he not, Big Lug wouldn't be here. Speaking of whom, we should hurry. To keep our guests waiting would only add insult to injury. You may now enter the Grand Cosmos with a party of NPC avatars. To make use of this feature, open the Trust interface located under Duty in the main menu. Alright. We mustn't dally here any longer, Prince. If Big Lug is to hear the truth of our travails in the first, you of all people should be present. Back to the Crystarium we go. And we want the Docile Gate. Into the ocular we go!
I'm sorry. You mean to tell me not only that the return of night was your doing, but that you hail from another world as well?
Everything we told you, of the source, the shards, the 7 umbral calamities, All of it is true. I realize how fantastical it sounds, and I would not blame you for doubting our testimony. But given your expertise, you must surely have noted the peculiar nature of their souls.
Any other time and I would have dismissed your stories as balderdash and flummery. But upon closer inspection, 'tis plain their souls are far denser than is normal, and that they do not possess true bodies. Save you. Your body is your own, and your soul is the densest of them all.
That being Arbert doing that.
As I said before, were it not for their heroism, the skies over Norvrant would still be awash with light, the realm yet at the mercy of Vorthri and the Sin Eaters. After all they have done for our home, seeing them safely back to their own, it seems the very least we can do.
Your tale is intriguing. Yes, very intriguing indeed. Simply to hear it is fitting payment in itself. As for your friends, I can but agree. Their valorous deeds on behalf of Norvrant are deserving of recognition, of their own fitting payment.
You will help us then?
I will. I would see my knowledge put to good use for a change. I do have one condition, however. I am not the spry young Numo I once was. As such, I will require assistance in my fieldwork and testing.
It would be our pleasure. We'll be laboring for our own benefit after all.
What exactly do you need us to do then? You have spun quite a tale, but tell me, have you given any thought as to how you might return to your world? White Aura Site, you say? An intriguing proposition, but one which fails to account for the present state of your souls. They have become highly charged, likely as a consequence of having maintained tangible forms for so long. In such an energetic, unstable state, there's no telling what may happen to their souls within the Aura Site. They could very well be immutable to transference, never to be restored to their bodies. Then, would it be possible to force our souls into a state of dormancy prior to the transference? In theory, yes, but the soul is not a candle to be snuffed out and relit on a whim. Well, that sounds ominous. What exactly would rendering our souls dormant entail? In order to maintain a corporeal form, your souls constantly draw ether from your surroundings. This process must be halted, and the resulting surfeit of ether removed. Your minds would ultimately be separated from those faux bodies of yours, rendering you incapable of interacting with the world around you. A cruel fate under normal circumstances, but one which will be rectified upon your return home. It's starting to sound like what Arbert went through. Leaving lifeless husks. Like those poor souls at the inn at Journey's Head, corrupted by the Sin Eaters, their ether made stagnant by the light. Corrupted? Stagnant? Might I see these unfortunate individuals? Why? Do you think you might be able to help them? I might, or I might not, but I shan't know for sure until I've seen their condition firsthand. Then I would be glad to take you to them, on the understanding that you won't do anything which might increase their suffering. It was my faith in man I lost, not my compassion. Well, I see no need for all of us to accompany you. While you escort our guests to the inn, I will assist Urianger in creating the requisite aurosite. I believe my talents would be better applied to that endeavor as well. Might I leave 3 of you to assist Big Lug as necessary? Let us make for Amarang then. Alright, to Amarang we go, the inn at Journey's Head. So this is Halric, is it? Yes, his etheric balance leans precariously toward the light. Toward stasis. What do you suppose will happen to him? Not too bright, are you, boy? The same as all poor souls corrupted by the light. He will become a sin eater. You don't know that. We've defeated the Wardens and banished the light from the night sky. Halric was completely unresponsive before, but now... Then perhaps there is yet hope. If I may, there is a treatment I wish to administer to the patients. What sort of treatment? In the course of my studies of the soul, I once created a tonic which could temporarily stimulate the ether in one's body. After some refinement, it came to be used by the Knights of Aubert. Then, for far darker purposes. Lest it fall into the wrong hands, I swore never to make it again. But for their sakes, I will break that oath. It is not like to reverse the stagnation, mind you, but it should offer some measure of relief. Alright, let us locate the patients here. And use the tonic. What is this warmth I feel in my chest? Toddin stares blankly at you. It would seem the tonic has had no effect. Alright, and the last person is over here. I feel warm. And my legs, they don't feel as heavy. So if I had to guess, there's probably a point of no return where that potion doesn't work. Now then, have you noted any change in the patients? A notable rise in body temperature and increased motor function, in most of the patients at least. The more severely afflicted show no response. As I feared then. 'Tis true that, with the restoration of night, the corrupting influence of light will no longer grow, and yes, their bodies will naturally return to equilibrium given time. But this holds true only for their corporeal aether. Their incorporeal aether, that of the soul, is not so easily mended. Which is why those in the later stages of corruption, like Halric, appear unaffected by your tonic. Precisely. The boy's soul is too far gone, his mind held together by the finest of threads. There is a chance he may one day recover, of course, but it could take years, decades even. By the gods, he could wake to find himself an old man. A fine reward for his persistence. The opportunity to mourn the life he never had a chance to live. No, there must be something we can do. Look, I realize this is not why we petitioned your aid, but do you think it's possible we can find a way to hasten their recovery? Maybe. Nor do I think it impossible that in treating them, we might learn something of relevance to your own predicament. Alright, what do we have this time? Rare roast beef. Let's take that. One parallel I do want to draw, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but Halric's condition does kind of seem similar to Gabu back on the Source. So what works for him might end up working for Gabu as well. If that is what's actually going on with Gabu. I suspect the Crystal Exarch has told you of my past, that I was once a mage of the royal court of Vobert, and that Soulcraft was my field of study. The tonic you administered to the patients here is one of the fruits of my labors. I hope to do great things for the kingdom. But in the end, my knowledge brought only suffering, a plague the like of which none had ever seen. In the hands of unscrupulous men, what should have been my greatest triumph instead became my greatest shame. At least the warriors of light brought those responsible to justice. Aye, that they did. I shudder to think what might have happened had they not. But let us return to the task at hand, finding a means by which we might revitalize these people's incorporeal aether. Do you think it can be done? Were the sky still ablaze with primordial light, I would call it an exercise in futility, but now we may have a chance. The method I have in mind will entail the conjuring of a familiar. They are able to amplify the energies poured into them, making them the perfect conduit for the aether revitalizing magics we will ultimately employ. If you're about to launch into a lengthy explanation of the metaphysics of your plan, don't bother. I'd rather get on with what you're doing, whatever it is that needs to be done, if it's all the same to you. Whatever reagents must be procured, or spells invoked, I'll do it. I admire your spirit. Very well, your first task will be to gather the necessary materials. The purest of waters and finest of clays, as well as a fey lantern brimming with pixie magic. If you're convinced the resulting familiar could help the patients, fine. Alphino, the water and clay will be simple enough, but I think you know what we'll have to do to get the lantern. You don't mean... The pixies took quite a liking to us before, If we humor them with our company, I'm sure they'll be willing to help us. Fine. We'll pay a visit to Ilmeg. Though I never thought you would be the one to suggest going back there. I'm impressed you've been there at all, let alone befriended the Fey folk. Oh, while you're about it, seek out the new Mo of Pla Inni. They will be able to supply you with water suitable for our needs. Right, let's get this over with, shall we? There still remains the matter of the clay. Might I prevail upon you to find it? I'm kind of surprised we're not the ones headed to Ilmeg. After all, Titania is, well, we're Titania's little spriteling, essentially, so. Or not Titania, Vale Ul. Clay from Amarang would likely be best. Know you of anyone who might be able to assist us? I could ask the miners at Twine. Ah, yes, they will be able to point you in the right direction, I am sure. While you and the twins are occupied, I will see if there is aught else I can learn of the stagnation which afflicts the people here. It'd be funny if they actually did have something here. I guess not. Alright, let's make our way over to Twine. Prince, whoa, what a coincidence. You've come at a good time. We've just this moment finished repairing the Talos and trolley you lot took to Navatharan. The trolley was no trouble, but the Talos would have been another matter, had we not had a visit from Master Chai. He offered us a share of the leftover building materials from Daedalus Stoneworks, as well as a few trade secrets to help us along. Clever man, that Chai News. He seemed pretty keen on the ideas I had for putting the giant Talos to work. Like a giant trolley, but Magnus still refuses to see all the good we could do with it. You're entitled to your dreams, Jarek. But that doesn't mean you can go harassing our guests with them. Master Chai was just being polite. Something tells me Prince here didn't come all this way to talk about trolleys. What is it you need, friend? I see, and this familiar requires clay from Amarang. Well, look no further. If anyone can find you some quality clay, it's us. Saying that, it isn't exactly a commodity nowadays, but there must be some lurking somewhere or other, waiting to be dug up. If I'm not mistaken, there was a time when they used to take clay from Mount Biran mines to make adobe bricks. The place is swarming with coyotes now, but if you're after the good stuff, you could do worse than to look there. Alright, then in that case, let us make our way over to there. That takes us to the northeast, it looks like. That looks like what we're looking for. Alright, and to combat with us, because that's obviously what's going on here. Or maybe not. So, let's make our way to the inn at Journey's Head. The twins have returned, and in one piece at that. I was convinced the pixies would turn at least one of them into a garden ornament, but no. You have the clay, I take it. Let's hand it over. Wonderful. We need but combine the clay and the water, then heat the mixture with the Fey Lantern. After that, it will be a simple matter of settling upon a suitable form and performing the necessary incantation. Big Luke, I have a question. In the event that we have need of this spell and you weren't around, would it be possible for another to perform the incantation? Assuming they possess the requisite skill, yes. Ulrich and the others have suffered so much, and I swore to do everything in my power to save them. If there is a chance this spell could do that, I would be the one to invoke it. Mayhap you should be the one to do so. A deep understanding of the subject's physical state, combined with a strong desire to help them, can drastically increase the magic's effect, and you are plainly more familiar with these people than I. I dare say that there are a few in all of Northrend more dedicated to finding a cure. Is that not so, Prince? Very few, but if aught should go awry, I'll see what I can do. Is that a challenge? Well, I'll be damned if I let it come to that. Then we are all of a mind on the matter. Alice shall be the one to conjure the familiar.
Let us begin. I trust you've prepared the clay? Very good. Now, I would have you sculpt for me a porksy. Plump, with floppy ears and a short curly tail.
A porksy. I think I know what you mean. There we are. How's that?
It might be off a bit.
Well, it is certainly creative. There's no denying that.
Yes, I'm no artist. Very funny.
Pay him no mind, child. Though it may look like a grotesque parody of reality, it is what the invoker believes that matters.
You're not helping.
But I speak the truth. If successful, this incantation will turn imagination into reality. Which is why the only thing of import is what you believe this figure embodies. You must focus. Hold the Porx's image steady in your mind's eye. Now then, as I taught you, relax and allow your energies to flow.
With flesh of clay I bid thee rise, on wings of dreams to touch the skies. What once was idle fantasy, I call forth to reality.
Not bad for a first attempt. Now, let us see what can be done for young Halric. Through the operation of the magics you invoked to animate this familiar, it is now replete with the energies required to stir the boy's soul. You need but give it a name, and it will do as your heart desires.
A name. All right, I've decided. Now. Go, Angelo!
Mother, I...
It only had a temporary effect. How is he, Big Luke? Did it work? I believe it did, and you and your fledgling familiar have done well. If my eyes do not deceive, a hint of color has returned to his soul. Gods, I would jump for joy if I weren't so exhausted. We're so close now, Halric. As you are even now in the process of discovering, this magic asks much of the Invoker. What you may not have realized is that the same is also true of the subject. As such, we must proceed with caution. However, with further treatment, I have the utmost confidence this boy will make a full recovery. Observing the reanimation of his stagnant soul has been most enlightening. I will need time to put my theories to proof, but I believe I can fashion a spell to produce the opposite effect. That is, to induce stagnation, thus enabling our safe transport back to the source via aura site. A thought occurred to me about this treatment. Big Luke said when the soul is rendered dormant, the mind is separated from the body, that a person becomes incapable of interacting with the world around them. Does that not sound a lot like some of the tempered back in the source? There we go! So she doesn't specifically bring up Gabu, but yeah, along the same lines there. Not really. It is the fate of most tempered to become slaves to primals, save in a handful of cases, or am I missing something? If I can master this technique, the art of revitalizing the soul, I know of at least one in the source who could desperately use such treatment. Gabu! Exactly. His condition is uncannily similar to Hulrich's, is it not? The only difference being that his soul was suffused with earth-aspected ether instead of light. It follows that if his soul is subject to the similar kind of stagnation, there may be a chance we can save him, right? Forgive me, but who is this Gabu fellow of whom you speak? I see. His condition does sound similar, yet there is much and more about the soul that remains unknown even to me. I say this not to discourage you, you understand, but to remind you that this is delicate work we do here. Work requiring patience. Of course, and as long as there is hope for the patients here, I will devote whatever time is needed to see this through. But I refuse to spend that time in idleness. If it's all the same to you, I'd like to stay here with Angelo and continue their treatment. The two of you should return to the Crystarium with Big Luke and see if you can't make some headway with their newly posited theories. I would tell you to rest first, but I see you not to be convinced. Ah, the fire of youth. Let us return to the Crystarium, then. Finally, I've found you! Kaishir, what are you doing all the way out here? There's terrible trouble back in Yolmor. Lady Chai is beside herself, sighing, pacing the whole lot. Near enough begged me to go and find you. Sighing and pacing, you say? It must be urgent. I take it I will be returning to the Crystarium alone. Go on, then. It's not as if I have anything for you to do. Thank you, Big Luke. Sorry for bothering you and all that, but she says the future of Yolmor is at stake. Alright, moving on to the next quest. Lady Chai's up in the parlor. Best not keep her waiting, eh? Alright, let us teleport over to Yolmor. Well, not here seems out of the ordinary, though I do not see Lady Chai anywhere. Probably pacing around outside again, staring off into the distance and all that, sighing. Strange. Let's see if we can find her and discover the source of her distress. Looks like she is to the northwest here.
heavens, you're here!
Lady Chai, whatever is the matter?
I knew not where else to turn. Oh, this is all too much for my poor heart to bear alone.
Alone? What of Master Chai?
But that is the very reason I summoned you. He's gone.
What? What happened?
It all began after the events at Mount Gulg. With Lord Vorthry out of the way, we all agreed that a new leader must be chosen.
And so you held an election?
Yes, well, sort of. Not a single person volunteered to stand, you see. After a lifetime of leisure, we free citizens have grown somewhat indolent. Readapting to the harsh realities of life is trying enough, but to take charge of a broken city as well? No one wanted such responsibility. Nevertheless, Yulmore could not well do without a leader, and so we decided that anyone and everyone should be considered a candidate. And after we cast our ballots and tallied the votes, the mayorship fell upon my dear husband.
Well, given the manner in which he orchestrated the construction of the giant Talos, none could deny his leadership qualities.
But even before then, he had proven himself at Daedalus Stoneworks, don't forget. He is more than qualified for the role. The perfect choice. Indeed. I told him as much when his victory was first announced. But perhaps I was too forceful in my attempt to encourage him. For shortly after that, he vanished without a word.
His nerves are probably getting to him again.
You believe he was so daunted by the burden of leadership that he felt compelled to flee? Please, Lady Chai, dry your eyes. Your husband does not strike me as the sort of man who would abandon his duty, much less his beloved wife. There has to be some other reason for his absence.
You truly think so? What about you? What do you think has become of my husband?
Yeah, knowing him, sorry, but I think he's fled.
Nay, my friend. The one thing he has not done is flee. Of that I am convinced. Through the most testing of times, he has ever remained at Lady Chai's side, placing her happiness before his own. He would not abandon her now. Wherever he may have gone, rest assured we will find him.
Thank you, my dear boy. You have set my mind at ease. I will trust in my husband and await his return.
Alright, let's see what we got this time here. Potato salad. Makes no sense for Master Chai to have left without a word, but even if he had, he would not have done so unobserved. Someone here will have seen something, I am sure of it. We should split up and inquire as to whether anyone saw him leave, or, failing that, if they have any idea where he might have gone. I will meet you at the Glory Gate to compare notes later on. Alright, so then in that case, let's gather information where we can. Master Chai? Why yes, I spoke with him recently, though I recall he was in a rather dour mood. Concerned about Yulmore's neglect of industry, you see. With Lord Vothry's apparent inexhaustible stores of meal, and no great need for money, it's little wonder our businesses were all but forgotten under his rule. But I assured Master Chai that the Boutique of Splendors will do all it can to contribute to the revival of trade here in Yulmore, which seemed to satisfy him. He took his leave soon after. Your exchange with Moen has taught you about the stagnant state of business in Yulmore. Alright. Up next, we need to head downstairs, actually. And out the front door. Looking for Master Chai, are you? Is something amiss? When last I saw him, he seemed ready to collapse from exhaustion. I insisted he rest and catch his breath, and we talked for a while, about his concerns over the city's defenses amongst other things. He made more than a few valid points. Many of our men are still recovering after your confrontation with Lord Vothry, and finding General Ranjit in a heap in the middle of the plaza shook us all to the core. Man commanded no small amount of loyalty, and some of our longest-serving soldiers seemed lost without him. Indeed, a number of them left. Not that I blame you, of course. Without you and yours, we would still be blind to the error of our ways. Anyway, funding permitting, I propose replenishing our ranks with volunteers from the derelicts in Gate Town. We have a duty to protect not only Yulmore, you see, but the surrounding regions of Kalusia as well, and I for one would welcome any man or woman willing to take up arms for that cause. Indeed, I told him as much, and he seemed relieved to hear it. It was on that note that we parted ways. He headed outside, as I recall. Your exchange with Corne has taught you about the perilous state of Yulmore's defenses. Okay, so this is starting to sound more like maybe he went to seek some external help for Yulmore's needs. The kind of thing that, really though, I would have expected him to maybe give that duty to somebody else under his rule. I recall a man fitting that description. Asked to speak with the poor buggers lately come from Right. Said he wanted to know the state of things down in the derelicts, and you can be sure we gave him an earful. Lack of food, medicine, clothing, there was plenty to tell. We hunt high and low for whatever we can scavenge, and it's barely enough to fill our bellies. But folk here don't just want to survive, they want to thrive. When he heard that, he started mumbling to himself, something about finding us work, I think. Fair play to him, though. Not content with having his ears chewed about the derelicts, he asked about the other settlements and all. After that, I can't really say. Looked like he was headed for Gate Town when I last saw him. Your exchange with Hathenbet has taught you about the poor living conditions of Kalusia's downtrodden. There you are, Alphino. Ah, there you are. How did you fare? Have you learned anything which might offer a clue as to Master Chai's whereabouts? Let's give him the notes. Interesting. He apparently paid a visit to the Queen Bee as well. They discussed the possibility of granting admission to customers from outside Yulmore, an idea to which the proprietor was surprisingly receptive. Sounds like he's got big plans for the place. Yulmore, I mean, not the bee. Perhaps. But the question remains, where did he go after leaving the city? All we know for certain is that Master Chai has shown great concern not only for Yulmore, but its surrounding settlements. It seems logical, then, that having consulted with those within the city walls, he would wish to do the same to those without. Prince, if you would go and make inquiries in Right, I shall do likewise in Stilltide. Gate Town, I leave to you, Kaishir. Fair enough. Where should we meet when we're finished? Well, Top Rung would seem to be his next most likely destination. Let us reconvene there. With any luck, one will have stumbled upon him by then. But if not, we will be well situated to continue our search. Okay, and so for that, we have an Aetheryte crystal we can hit up to get there quicker. No, the name doesn't ring any bells, but there was a rather dapper-looking Mistal gentleman here not long ago. He wanted to talk about relations between Right and Yulmore, or rather the lack of them. We lost a great many people to their promises of Miol, and the chance of a lavish life among the free. And Vothri thought to take even more from us, conscripting the few able-bodied men we had left to guard his paradise. I needn't tell you what happened when the Sin Eaters came. Such things are hard to forgive. But Vothri's gone now, and we're curious to see what will become of Yulmore in his absence. That's what I told your friend. Chai News, was it? And I'm sure the others said the same. Not what he wanted to hear, I suppose, because he left soon after. And that was that. Alright, so that leads us to the northwest at Top Rung. So he paid a visit to both Right and Gate Town as well, did he? I see. Kaishir and I gleaned much the same. He seems determined to salvage what goodwill might yet remain among the settlements of Kalusia, the only likely place he has left to go being Amity. Come, if we are quick, we may yet catch up with him. I wonder if he's going to try to establish relations with Tamra and Kamra as well. If this is what he's really after. There you are. Prince, Alphino, Kaishir, what are you doing here? We might ask you the same, Master Chai. We've been looking all over for you. Looking for me? Whatever for? Lady Chai has been nigh inconsolable in your absence. She claims you disappeared without so much as a word, and bade us return you to her side. What in the blazes are you talking about? I left a letter for her in our chambers. Though I suppose she could have overlooked it. And when she gets an idea into her head, I can only apologize. No harm done, Master Chai. But since we are here, might I ask what compelled you to come all this way? We were told you had been elected mayor, and from what we have gathered from the nearby villages, you have been inquiring about the people's grievances. Is it safe to assume that you mean to take the office? Now, let's not jump to conclusions. I did seek to learn about the problems faced by the people of Kalusia. That much is true, but I am by no means sure I am the man to solve them. Tackling our many challenges will require resources, and until I have secured them, it would not be right to assume the role of mayor. I see. And you believe said resources can be found here? Indeed. The people's grievances are many, but in the course of my inquiries, I have already met with several individuals willing to lend their aid in addressing them. However, there remains one individual crucial to my plans, a man whose counsel might yet make a mayor of me. With respect, such forethought is, in itself, proof of your suitability. The city needs you, Master Chai, and I am certain this man of whom you speak, whoever he may be, will reach the same conclusion. For what little it is worth, we will vouch for you should he require convincing. We believe in you, Master Chai. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. You've got your actions to speak for you. For as long as I can remember, all I ever wanted was to make it into Gilmore. But that dream's gone now. Burst like a bubble, or a boil, more like. Anyway, outside of repaying Master Alphino, I haven't had a clue what to do with myself. Spent most days in a daze, but you've been running up and down, trying to find a way to fix this mess for everyone. And I reckon you can do it. You got this lot up Mount Gold, didn't you? How hard could mayoring be? You're gonna steer Yulmore to a better future, I know it. And I want to help. Properly help. Do something that makes a difference. I don't know what it is yet, but I'll work it out on the way. If you let me come with you, that is. You give me entirely too much credit, the lot of you. But I can't deny it gives me heart. Come then, let us press on together. Thank you, Master Chai. But we mustn't get ahead of ourselves. Gilmore needs more than a man with good intentions, which is why I am here, to find one with the experience needed to see the city thrive. Who is this man exactly, and are you certain he's here in Amity? Rendon is his name, and yes, he is, or was. I had scarcely begun to explain myself when he decided his time was better spent elsewhere. He served as chief advisor to Vothri's father when he was in office. If Ranjit was the mayor's right hand, one might say Rendon was the left, and between them, they kept Yulmore on the road to prosperity. The city needs more than a mere man of business, which is why I must find him. Even if you do, what makes you think he will listen? Before giving chase, might it not be wise to speak with those who know him, here in Amity? They may be able to shed some light on his reason for rejecting your overtures out of hand. Yes, I suppose that makes sense. Perhaps we should start with Tristal then. As I recall, you made rather a favorable impression on him. I'm certain he would be willing to talk to us. And Tristol is over here. Greetings, friend, and to you too, Master Chai. I presume you're here to ask after Rendon? I couldn't help overhearing you earlier exchange. Yes, well, with Vothri gone, Yulmore wants for a leader. Should no one rise to the challenge, the city could very well collapse. I came here seeking Rendon's counsel in the hope that we could build a better Yulmore together, and that is still my wish. But given how abominably you were mistreated there, I will quite understand if you choose not to help. Worry not, Master Chai. I bear no grudge against you or the people of Yulmore, and I would not see you suffer for Vothri's villainy. As you no doubt gathered from your meeting earlier, Rendon can be rather uncompromising. He has his principles, you see, and little patience for anyone he deems less committed to their own. Your desire to right the wrongs of your past, of Yulmore's past, is quite admirable. But I fear the guilt you bear on the city's behalf works against you. I can see it in your eyes, in the way you carry yourself. It goes without saying he sees it as well. You must let those feelings go, Master Chai. Be more assertive, commit to this course, and prove to him Yulmore has the resolve to change. The resolve to change? I believe he was heading towards Pit 8 when he left. If you plan to go and speak with him, I suggest you be firm and clear in your intentions. Very well. To Pit 8 we will go, and I will not take no for an answer. Nay, not even a maybe. And that brings us up, actually, to the north.
Well, well, it's you again. Well, I see you've invited your friends. Need them to fight your battles for you, do you?
No, I didn't invite them, as it happens, though they are indeed my friends. Well, not only mine, but every true Yulmoran's. They are the ones who awakened us to the truth, to Lord Vothri's villainy, the famous warriors of darkness.
Are they now?
Yes, they are. It would be no exaggeration to call them our saviors. We owe much and more to their kindness, but we cannot depend on that kindness forever. To do so would be a little different from entrusting our affairs to Lord Vothri. Nay, we must learn to stand on our own 2 feet. And I would have them present to witness my attempt.
Hear, hear, Master Chai.
Your sentiments are admirable, yet admirable sentiments do not a nation make. In my capacity as advisor, I once strove to build a better Yulmore. Gave honest counsel to my superiors, drafted laws for the benefit of one and all. But in time, my values fell out of favor. There was no need for them in this paradise Vothri was creating. And so I left my homeland behind. But you, Chai News, you were content to wallow in indolence under Vothri's auspices. And so I cannot help but ask myself what manner of nation you intend to build.
I can offer no simple answer to that question. But this much I will say. It is my hope that Yulmore can become a nation which her citizens might freely choose to build together. A great many people, myself included, flocked to Yulmore seeking sanctuary. The alternative being to live in fear and die in pain. Seemed an easy choice. And sanctuary we found. As much food and drink as we could ever want. Secured at the cost of the surrounding villages. Little wonder the people gathered at our doorstep, begging to work among the bonded. The free were blind to it all, of course. Content to, as you say, wallow in indolence. In ignorance. Were I mayor, I would first take stock of the city's resources and see that they were assigned equitably. Our days of reckless consumption are behind us. The distinction between free and bonded died with Vorthri. The needs of rich and poor alike must be considered if our nation is to survive. To which end I would take steps to secure channels for supplies, rekindle relations with nearby settlements, who re-establish industry, reach out to neighboring nations, and the list goes on and on. But I am no ruler, nor even a politician. I am an entrepreneur. My expertise lie in planning and profit. I haven't the knowledge or experience to run a nation. Please, Rendon, will you not help me? Together, we could solve the city's problems. Build a Yulmore for the people.
A Yulmore for the people. I rather like the sound of that. But before I offer you my counsel, I would be certain of your ability to perform the duties of office.
You would?
You ask me to help you solve Yulmore's problems, but first I would see you solve one on your own. Accomplish that, and you will prove both to me and the people that you are a man worth following.
Alright, let us speak with Chai News. Right then. Is there a particular issue you would have me resolve? You seem to have conducted an assessment of the problems Yulmore now faces. I assume you will agree, therefore, that the matter of dwindling food stores is the most pressing. Ah, yes. Meal neither being a desirable nor less sustainable option, I assume alternative foodstuffs are now required to fill the void. And a man who hungers is not like to contribute much to society. Save violence, perhaps. So tell me, how do you propose to solve this problem? Give me a satisfactory answer, and I will consider offering you my counsel. A combination of measures would seem to be in order. One to address the immediate issue of supply, and another, that of production. Go on. For the present, Yulmore's coffers can be used to purchase food from our neighbors. This would afford us time to address the underlying problem that affects us all, the long-standing neglect of agriculture. The villages that once served as sources of trade for foodstuff must be repopulated, their means of production restored. This assumes, of course, that we can rekindle relations with our neighbors, guarantee security and stability in the region, and most importantly, find people willing to leave the city and take up the rebuilding effort. My, think of that all by yourself, did you? Well, yes. It began as a rather abstract plan I drafted some time ago, after speaking with the peoples of Yulmore and the nearby settlements. You've impressed me, Chai News. I have? Well, that is a relief. Oh, you haven't secured my support just yet, only my attention. Grand plans will not be enough to persuade the masses. If you would ask them to rebuild, you must provide them the means to do so. A fair point, Redden, and one to which I have given much thought. I propose the use of Talos to aid in the establishment and maintenance of these settlements. Their employment should drastically improve efficiency and ultimately increase production. Talos? But Daedalus Stoneworks closed their doors years ago, without a ready supply of the necessary equipment. The people would starve before your plans could be put into effect. Well, as the heir to Daedalus Stoneworks, it just so happens that Talos are my field of expertise. And with a little help, I'm certain we can acquire what we need in no time at all. Alright, and let's grab ourselves some beef stew here. Okay, and so we now at least have an idea of what we need to do here in order to recruit Rendon to help Yulmore out. And that is something that is going to be taken care of when next we meet here in Final Fantasy XIV. If you've enjoyed today's content, please do make sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified whenever I do go live, whenever I put out a new video. In addition to that, I also have a Discord. Link to that is in the description below. Thank you for joining me today. This is Prince Brightstar signing off. I'll catch you next time.